Today is April the 20th of 2025, a Sunday. I'm Jay Essen. It's time for us to play The Little Match Girl and Her Friend, the Crow, which is described as, in this short little game written for Drawloween 2023, the little match girl goes on a spooky adventure with her friend, a crow. And I thought, since it's April, what better time than now to play a spooky Halloween-themed game? So that is just what we're going to do. The game after this is The Little Match Girl 4, so that's going to be very exciting, but this should be pretty entertaining for now. Let's go ahead and get in. I don't think that this game has any sort of background music or other sounds, so this is probably another good one for you to enjoy with the background music of your choice. Maybe find something spooky. In any case, let's get into it. Hello, my name is Hans Christian Andersen. Perhaps you are familiar with the Little Match Girl, a character that I made up out of my own head, and with her many adventures. If you aren't familiar, well, here is all you need to know. First of all, she is a very noble person, possessed of rare courage and conviction. Secondly, whenever the Little Match Girl looks at fire, any kind of fire, she is transported to somewhere else in space and time. When she must return from these travels, all she has to do is wake up, and she finds herself back in the here and now, as if it had all been a dream. But do not be mistaken, it is no dream. You must also understand that, soon after she gained these powers, the Little Match Girl was adopted by the famous old philanthropist Ebenezer Scrooge, who gave his new daughter the name Ebenezabeth Scrooge, an impossible name to forget, and just as impossible to improve upon. Finally, it will help you to know that on one of her adventures, Ebenezabeth befriended a talking crow, whose name was Freeman. She brought Freeman home to live with herself and her papa and her little brown cat. They all live quite happily together in the narrow house in London, even if all of them come from very different places. Quite happily, I say, yet if Ebenezabeth were always happy, we would straightway run out of stories to tell about her, and then where would we be? I suppose it is our good fortune that on this day, an unhappiness has found its way into Ebenezabeth's life. I will tell you all about it, but first you must press any key to continue a few times. This seems like a good moment to confirm. While I have played most of this game, I'm not certain that I have finished it. I know I played the majority of it, but there is a point at which I may get stuck, and if that is the case, I will consult resources to provide guidance on how to continue. Or perhaps I will simply use the help or status command, if one of those works. So, we begin. The Little Match Girl and Her Friend, the Crow, a story for Halloween by Hans Christian Andersen. Release 1, serial number 240514, Inform 7, version 10.1.2, Vorpal version 4.0.1. Attic. Freeman the Crow stood alone in the attic, considering its old crates and its dust, and perhaps considering other things, which must remain a mystery to us. He had no one with whom to share his thoughts, and so the attic was quite silent. But then a little girl came hurrying noisily up the stairs. It was Ebenezabeth, her clothes stained and torn, her flaxen curls all in a tangle. She did not notice Freeman at first, but went about rummaging through the attic, searching for something. Freeman made a small coughing noise, and Ebenezabeth whirled around, very startled. Now Freeman saw that her face was streaked with tears. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Linus killed the prepotence," answered Ebenezabeth in a choked, ragged voice. Although Freeman did not know exactly what this meant, he was able to infer from the general import of the situation from context. Yet he found he could make no immediate reply, and so Ebenezabeth went back to her search. "I can fix it," she whispered. "I just need—" Presently she turned up an old, tarnished candelabrum and 4 candles wrapped in linen. These she inserted, with shaking hands, into the candelabrum's 4 sockets. Next she took out a match and tried to strike it. But her hands were so unsteady that several matches burned away before she could light all 4 candles. All this time Freeman said nothing. He only wished he knew how he could comfort his friend. Ebenezabeth took a deep breath and examined herself. Her flaxen curls were tangled and dirty, and dark circles were under her reddened eyes. She had gone days without rest, trying so hard to put things right, and now this. Always something else. Examined Freeman. Freeman watched Ebenezabeth carefully, his gleaming little eyes filled with worry. We talked to Freeman? She felt if she said even one more word, she would begin crying again, and she didn't want to cry in front of Freeman. Let's look. Once again, we are in the attic. Ebenezabeth and Freeman were alone in the attic, surrounded by crates and dust. Before them stood the tarnished candelabrum. Candelabrum? Let's see how that's actually pronounced. You know, I don't know if we're going to get a good pronunciation guide, unless Merriam-Webster has one.
Candelabrum.
Candelabrum. Okay. With its 4 burning candles. Let's examine the crates before we get into the candles themselves. Old Ebenezer Scrooge had little in the way of material possessions. In his old life, he had loved hoarding money more than spending it. In his new one, he loved spending money on others more than he loved spending it on himself. And yet, no matter how much care we take, our attics always manage to fill themselves up. And if we examine the dust, the little girl had kicked up quite a lot of dust in her hurry, but it was already beginning to settle. It would go on settling for days or weeks. Let's examine the first candle. Ebenezabeth stared intensely into the candle's tiny flame, through eyes that were still full of tears, and she begged the fire to take her where she needed to go. And the fire consented, and now the little girl was in Oregon, 1981. Woods. There's no trail, just thick grass and bushes, and huge pine trees all around, silhouetted in the dusk, shaking restlessly in the wind. Freeman is here, too. "Is it all right if I come with?" he asks, a little too late. "Sure," you say, trying to smile. So he hops up on your shoulder. And if we examine him again, Freeman keeps looking at you, trying to figure out how you're feeling. If we look at ourselves, you probably look absolutely wretched. You certainly feel wretched. You'll have earned a long bath when this is all over, if you don't somehow manage to make things even worse. What are we carrying? We are carrying our revolver. Examine the revolver. On one side of your revolver are engraved the words, "For my friend Ebenezabeth, Samuel Colt." On the other, a gold rose is inlaid, next to the inscription, Pius PP 9. Let's examine pine trees. Thousands of old trees in all directions. You're really in the middle of nowhere. But you can make out some sort of building beyond the trees to the east. So let us examine the bushes. Probably some of this is poison ivy or poison oak. Best not to touch anything. And let's examine the building. You can barely see it, but it's not more forest. Let's go east then. Behind a cabin. The wind seems to pick up as you come out of the trees. A squat little cabin. The back window is covered in cobwebs. A rough trail leads northeast. At the base of the wall is a cellar door. We examine the cabin. "What a dump," Riemann whispers. "Do you know who this place belongs to?" Not really. The place really is tiny and dingy. We examine that window. Ancient spiderwebs decorated with gleaming dead flies hang across the window, rustling in the wind. You crane your neck for a better look inside. You can't see anything. If we examine the cellar door is held shut with a rusty chain and a combination lock. You and Freeman exchange a glance. Okay. The cellar door won't open. It seems to be locked. Can I shoot the lock? You point your revolver at the lock. Wait, says Freeman. What if there's someone on the other side? You nod and lean down to call through the cellar door. Is anyone down there? No answer. They might be bound and gagged, says Freeman. That's a good point. Well, but still, I don't know if we have a better option, so let's try it once more. Oh, Freeman is right. Might not be a good idea. Okay, so we will have to obtain a combination. But first, let's go northeast. To the side of the cabin, there's another window here. The trail leads southeast and southwest. We'll examine this window. Curtains are drawn tight over the window, making sure you can't even see a sliver of the room inside. Then I guess we continue southeast to the front of the cabin. Muddy boot prints and animal droppings cover the porch. The front door is shut. The path around the back is northwest. I'm getting a great vibe from this place, says Freeman. You don't laugh. We'll examine the porch. There isn't much to the porch. It's filthy. We'll examine the front door. It's shut. We open it. Are you sure about this? Freeman whispers. You sigh. I don't think I have a choice. You open the front door. And we go in. Cabin. A wood stove next to a dingy cot. A cheap cupboard. A desk. Freeman is keeping an eye on the door. We'll start with the desk. There are deep scratches in the wood. On the old desk are a shotgun and a spiral notebook. The door rattles slightly in the wind. Let's examine the shotgun first. Glancing at the weapon, your first thought is, it hasn't been cleaned. What kind of person have you turned into? Let's examine the notebook. The cover of the notebook is unmarked. A gust of wind slams the door shut. Let's open the notebook. Read it. So, as usual, notebooks are my favorite parts of the Little Match Girl games. This one is dated April 16th, 1981. Welcome to the notebook of Colin Gorf. Yes, I am the real Colin Gorf. If you are finding this notebook 50 years from now, it is worth a ton of money. But I guess there may be some doubt as to its authenticity. You won't be able to sell this for big bucks unless you can prove it was really me who wrote in here. Here is my signature, Colin Gorf. And again, Colin Gorf. How about my full name, Colin Clinton Gorf? Are you convinced, buyer? At this point in my career, I am the most beloved, best-sellingest horror author and probably most popular writer of any kind living on the planet. In 50 years, probably even more successful and beloved. But I have a secret. The sort of secret you have to pay a ton of money for. Don't turn the page until you've paid the man. This is how you build suspense. There is more on the next page. So, naturally, we should turn the page. You go on reading. The secret, my dear child, is that I have writer's block. I haven't written anything in about 6 weeks. Anything good, I mean. A writer writes every day, we all know. This is me writing today. Gooby gooby bup bup butter toenail horse martini. Terrible. It's gibberish. You'll never sell 1 million copies of that, no matter how big you print the name Colin Gorf on the cover. Ergo, I have ventured into the woods, into the awful nowhere of the Pacific Northwest, to wrestle with my disease and to pry the buxom damsel inspiration from its pearly jaws. I hate writing. I hate this word, and this word, and the next word. I hate the pencil that allows these words to be. But most of all, I hate myself. No, I don't hate myself. I hate my unaccountable, unsustainable, deplorable success. There is more on the next page. We turn the page. You go on reading. Went into town for provisions. I haven't had a decent sandwich in months, but that ends today. The girl at the grocery store deli counter is a fan of mine. Carol something. I asked her to slice my salami extra special thin. All you need for a decent sandwich is to slice everything very, very, very thin. Enough scene-setting local color. A good horror story is out there, lurking in the woods. Tomorrow, I will go into the woods with my shotgun, and I will find that story, and I will shoot it. I will watch its life drain out of its eyes. Then I will return to this cabin and write it down. The story that I killed. I will write its corpse. There is more on the next page. You go on reading. Didn't work! I hiked around all day and barely saw anything interesting. Nothing inspiring. I sure didn't shoot anything. If we're being honest, I am terrified of this shotgun. Come on, I just need one lousy idea. What is scary? A shark. Been done. Pus. Owls. No, owls are more spooky than scary. Rejection. Old age. Bicycles. Bicycles! I never thought about how scary bicycles are. Bicycles are terrifying. Okay, that's the book. Scary Bikes. There is more on the next page. You go on reading. 8 days later. I have been drafting my scary bicycle book in my other notebook, the one I was saving for when I came up with the perfect idea. I already have about 60 pages written. It's a home run. 50 years in the future, guy, you are one lucky son of a gun. You hold in your hands the notebook where I came up with the idea for my beloved book, Last Gear, unless I decide to change the title, but I don't think I will. Title is perfect, premise is perfect, first 75 pages are perfect. I took a break from documenting my process to produce some more solid gold material. I'm going back into town in the next couple of days. I'll show the story to Carol at the deli counter. When she gets her hands on a real Colin Gorf draft, she'll just grease her bob. There is more on the next page. You go on reading. I have a problem. Either Carol is an unreliable critic, or this book I'm writing is actually garbage. I wish I could get a second opinion, but I'm all alone in the woods. It's too late anyway. I have to vacate the cabin tomorrow and give these 18 chapters of Last Gear to my publisher. This is what you get, my dear child. You get a gut-wrenching, spine-tingling tale of super-intelligent, evil bicycles, and if you don't like it, that's your own problem. It's only my problem if a lot of other people also don't like it. Did somebody tell me I was supposed to clean up on my way out? It seems to me that should be the responsibility of the guy who actually owns the cabin. That is the end of the notebook. Huh, says Freeman from your shoulder. He didn't quite pry the buxom damsel inspiration from the pearly jaws of his disease, did he? I don't think so, you say. Fair enough. We take the notebook. Let's look again. Can we take the shotgun? You've learned that you don't much care for shotguns. Too messy. That's a grim prospect. Let's look again. Let's examine the cupboard. Chipped and wobbly. It's closed. We open it. You open the cheap cupboard, revealing a loaf of sliced bread in a plastic bag. We'll take the bread. We examine it. A colorful plastic bag containing a dozen or so slices of very, very stale white bread. Okay. Let's examine the cot. This would be a really miserable place to sleep. Can we look under it? Under the cot is something gross. If we try to examine it, you really don't want to know, so I guess we'll leave something gross under the cot. Let's go ahead and go out. Oh no, we need to examine the wood stove. The stove looks very simple, very affordable, not very reliable. The little door is closed. We open the stove. You open the wood stove, revealing some ashes. We examine the ashes. It looks like someone was burning trash in here. Okay. Well, presumably we could put something in the stove and burn it to travel somewhere, but let's leave that for later. Let's go to the front of the cabin again. It doesn't really seem like there's another exit here, so I think this is a good time to wake. You close your eyes and let yourself return to London, 1848. Attic. Back where we were before. Okay, the bread is the same. The notebook is... Okay, yeah. Let's close notebook. And let's examine the second candle. She looked at the second candle and tried to calm herself. She closed her eyes, yet she could still see the fire burning before her. She opened her eyes again, and she was in... Ulcib Necropolis, 3278? 30,278? Distant future. Tower. A green gibbous moon fills half the sky, streaked here and there with wispy clouds. Below you, a sea of cathedraline mausoleums stretches out in every direction. Spires, colonnades, pavilions, all dark, but the darkest shape is the black ziggurat in the distance. A stairway leads down into the tower. Let's examine that moon. You can trace the paths of canals across the moon's surface, and dim city lights are glowing in its unilluminated crescent. Okay. Let's examine the mausoleums. The thousands of tombs are built almost on top of each other, leaving precious little room for the living. Cathedraline. That's an interesting word. Let's examine the ziggurat. The ziggurat's terraces are somehow blacker than the sky beyond. Looks interesting, but I don't think we can get there on foot, you say. Freeman shrugs. And let's go down to the stairway. The steps curl slowly downward, lit by a dim green glow from above. What are we doing here? Freeman asks. We're looking for a leaf. A green leaf about this big. You hold your fingers close together. Gotcha. Examine the steps. Weathered stone steps. And the glow? You can't see that, or it's not implemented. Let's continue down to gallery. The corridor goes east and west. Stairs on one side lead up. Stairs on the other side lead down. A hooded statue stands in an arched niche. Niche or niche? I've heard differing pronunciations. Let's examine the statue. The marble figure, somewhat larger than life, reaches down to you with one hand while raising the other delicately to heaven. Her skin looks so soft, so warm, but there's no face. The folds of her hood are draped over empty air. Looks kind of familiar, Freeman remarks. Saint Delia, patron of... You can't remember. The empty-headed? Could be. Let us instead go east first to the narthex. The exit to the east is bricked over. The way back is west. The votive stand is empty, except for one candle. Rows and rows of candle holders covered in spilt wax. One candle remains. Somehow it is still burning, but the flame is very, very faint. Well, I don't know that we want to use this to travel just yet. Let's go back to the west first, and further west to the chapel. 6 stone benches serve as pews. Standing on the altar is a magnificent fractal crucifix. The corridor leads east. A small alcove is north. Let's examine our benches. The benches are nominally intended for residents of the necropolis. They're not supposed to be comfortable or even pretty. Let's see this crucifix. Each point of the cross is another cross, and each of those crosses contains more crosses, and so on into invisible detail. Each cross bears an image of the one who suffered and died for the innumerable sins of an inconceivable and yet somehow finite universe. Interesting. We should next examine the alcove. Let's just go north into the alcove. A blue urn sits on a plinth. We examine the urn. There isn't enough light in here for you to make out all the intricacies of the design painted on the ceramic. Can we take the urn? Yeah, that's not something you want to carry around. Examine the plinth. Another block of smooth marble. So, okay, we're in an alcove. Let's go back to the south of the chapel. And let's go east to the gallery. And now let us continue down to the catacomb. The bottom of the stairs. Narrow passages lead southeast, south, southwest. The cavities lining the walls are filled with crumbling bones. Let's check out them bones. So old, they're barely recognizable as bones. The cavities? Yeah, same. Okay. Well, in contrast to how we went upstairs, let's go southwest first down here to passage. The tunnels head northeast, east, southeast. On every side of you are bones. Let's go southeast now to sepulcher. A painted sarcophagus sits on a stone dais below a low vaulted ceiling. Tunnels lead away to the northwest, north, and northeast. Check out that sarcophagus. The lid is painted with the image of a young woman. A delicate flower rests in her hands. Her eyes are closed. A calm smile is on her lips. I don't know that we want to do this, but let's try it anyway. We're going to open the sarcophagus. You grab the lid and push. It doesn't budge. I really wish Freeman begins, but you give him a look. Are you sure you have to get in there? He asks. I think so. In that case, I'm afraid you might have to resort to, he coughs, force. He might be right. Can we shove sarcophagus? No. We tried to push it, it's fixed in place. Hit sarcophagus. A barehanded attack wouldn't accomplish much. Shoot sarcophagus. Putting a bullet hole in the sarcophagus wouldn't move the lid. We just have nothing that would serve to apply force, so we'll probably have to come back to this. Let's look again and see the ceiling, maybe? It's uncomfortable, but it's a change of pace from all the bones. Let's go northeast to passage. The tunnels head southwest, west, northwest. Walls overflowing with bones seem to crowd in around you. Are we lost? Asks Freeman. Of course not, you tell him. Are you sure? You don't bother answering. And now let's go west to the center that we bypassed. Crossway. The tunnels lead north, south, east, and west. There are dozens of recesses, all stuffed with bones. Okay. Well, something to come back to. We are back to the catacomb, and now we're going to go back up and east. Now let's try examining the flame. You focus on the fire. You try to tell it what you need. It can take you there. It carries you away. And you're gone. But Riemann is still here. Oh. Well, that's unexpected. He looks himself over and thinks, Not bad, considering. Let's go back west. And back up to the stairway. And further up to the tower. Green gibbous moon. This is the part that I remember. I don't remember getting much past this other than... I don't remember if I ever got reunited with Ebenezabeth after she left the last time I played, so we might be reaching the limits of my experience. Let's see. Can we fly? He flaps his wings and takes off. Over the necropolis. Freeman wheels through the air, a black dart crossing the face of the moon. The necropolis below is an indecipherable maze, but he can see the tower he set off from, and he can see the black ziggurat. If we try flying to the ziggurat, he swoops down to the topmost terrace. Ziggurat. The air here is heavy, muffling even the clicking of talons on obsidian. Something lightless and intangible sits in the throne at the top of the ziggurat. Examine something. Freeman recognizes the throne's occupant instinctively and gives a little bow. "It's an honor to meet you, sir," he says. Death smiles. "It's nice to meet you too, Freeman. No one's come to see me here in a long time." "Are you, taking a break?" No. I am very busy elsewhere. I always am. But here, there is a lull." Okay, so I guess we're examining death, personified. Freeman has an affinity with death. It's not the same as Ebenezabeth's affinity with fire, but it still counts for something. He knew at first sight that this was death. Ebenezabeth might not be able to see him at all. And when he looks up into Death's black eyes, he feels quite at home, albeit a little starstruck. Let's talk to Death. Freeman tries to think of something to say. "I'm here with my friend, Ebenezabeth," he says. I'm waiting for her to get back. You'd like her." "I've had the pleasure of meeting Ebenezabeth Scrooge," says Death, "and, of course, I expect to meet her again, eventually." "Oh," Freeman is embarrassed. "Sure, of course." But then he wonders, does that mean you know how she... "I have a general idea. Would you like me to tell you?" That's an interesting question to ask. I think Freeman would like to know, since he does have an affinity for death. "Sure," says Freeman. So Death tells him, in as much detail as he can manage, about the ultimate fate of Ebenezabeth Scrooge. Freeman takes this information in, and he is quiet for a while. He is not as upset by the news as might be expected. He is a worldly crow, and he knows more than you give him credit for. But by you, of course, I mean Ebenezabeth, who isn't here. "Well, thanks for letting me know," he says at last. Do we have more to talk with? He takes a while to think of another topic. "Are you one of those guys who you look different to different people?" "Yes, usually," says Death. "But, so, is this, the way I'm seeing you, is that your true form?" Death shakes his head. "I'm afraid I don't have a true form." That makes sense. So we talk to him again. "I can't believe I get to see you in person." "You've been so kind to keep me company," Death says, "but I really think you should be heading off. She's probably back by now." "Yeah, probably." Goodbye, Death. It's not a verb I recognize. Say farewell? "I guess I'll get going," says Freeman. Death nods. "Thanks for visiting." And we shall once more look at the moon. Yep, he can trace the paths of canals across the moon's surface, and dim city lights are glowing on its unilluminated crescent. And fly. He flaps his wings and takes off. Over the necropolis. Freeman wheels through the air, a black dart crossing the face of the moon. The necropolis below is an indecipherable maze, but he can see the tower he set off from, and he can see the black ziggurat. Fly to tower. He circles slowly back down to the tower. And we are once again where we were earlier. Let's go down to the stairway, down once more to the gallery, and east to the narthex. Narthex. The exit to the east is bricked over. The way back is west. The votive stand is empty except for one candle. You're here now. You have an oilskin sack. You're back, Freeman cries, and you scoop him up into your arms. I'm sorry I left you. I'm so sorry, you tell him. I just needed... Don't worry about it, he says. Everything's okay, I promise. What are we doing next? Well, we should talk to him then. Were you all right while I was gone? Of course I was, Freeman says. Now, let's get going. We've got plenty left to do, I assume. So we are carrying an oilskin sack, closed. If we examine, it's a dark, heavy sack. Can we show the sack to Freeman? You are hoping Freeman doesn't notice the sack. Well, that's ominous. Show the bread to him. You ask Freeman if he would like some bread. Thanks, but no thanks, says Freeman. I don't know that he'll have anything meaningful to say since he read through it with us, but we show it to him. How do you know that's okay for you to pick up and take with you? Freeman asks. You aren't completely sure. I got the impression it had been there for a while since the shotgun needed to be cleaned, but maybe I'm mistaken. Let's go back west. Let us wake and return to London. Let's examine the third candle. She looked into the fire of the third candle, and the flame took her to Wessex, 889. This is where Freeman's from, if I recall correctly. Cliff. A cold, wet night. Wind whips over the edge of the cliff, only a few steps away. Beyond that, it's a few hundred feet to the bottom of the gorge. A narrow ledge to the southwest will take you part of the way down. You let Freeman know where you've ended up. Hey, my home turf, he cries. If you need a tour guide, just let me know. If I say yes, that was a rhetorical question. Well, let's try typing about. I don't think I ever remembered to do that. Thank you for playing this game. I wrote it for day 21 of Mab Graves' Drawloween 2023. The prompt was Crow. This game was tested by Sarah Wilson, and that's it. There was a pretty tight schedule. Okay. Let's, I wonder if... Does status do anything in this game? No, it doesn't. But does help? No. Does hint? No. Okay, so yeah, it's going to be us, and if need be, a walkthrough then. So, let us continue to explore. We're going to check out the gorge. You can sort of make out the tops of trees at the bottom of the valley, but it's very dark. Okay. Let's go ahead and take our trip down to the southwest, to the cliff face. The ledge is even narrower than you thought. Your back is pressed against the wet rock. The tips of your boots are hanging over the edge. Please be careful, says Freeman. I'm being careful, you tell him. There's a little more room to the southwest. So we continue southwest to Cave's Mouth. At last, you have enough room to stand comfortably. Unfortunately, there's also a troll here between you and the cave entrance. Let's examine that troll. Hunched over in the cave's mouth, he looks like a big hairy boulder. He's watching you closely, eyes smoldering like cigarettes. Can we talk to him? Good evening, you say. Says the troll. I need to speak with your employer. Is it all right if we go through? Says the troll. At least he's polite about it, Riemann mutters. Perhaps the troll will be interested in our bread. You raise the bag toward the troll's face. He says. This is a bribe, you explain, opening the plastic. It's a condition of your accepting this that you let us through. Understand? His expression remains quizzical until the scent reaches his nostrils. Hum, he says. You toss him the bag. He leans back and shakes a couple slices into his mouth. Fair enough. I guess we get to go in. We'll talk to him once more. Yeah, maybe you should leave him to it. We go in. You give the troll a little wave as you walk past him. Cave. The rock is slipperier here than outside, and to get from place to place, you have to steady yourself against any convenient stalagmites. Riemann sniffs. Do you smell burnt hair? A light is glowing southeast from here. The exit is northwest. Well, I guess we're going southeast then. Let's examine stalagmites first. Fortunately, this place is full of stalagmites. Okay. The walls and floor are covered in cave sweat. We go southeast to laboratory. You've stepped into someone's apothecary workshop, full of jars and gourds and strange smells. Ebenezer Scrooge, I wasn't expecting this. The owner of the voice emerges from a pile of furs. Yellowin the witch, a little more haggard than the last time you saw her, but no less pleased to see you. And her friend, the crow. Riemann, says Riemann. I'm sorry, darling, it's been so long, but I know you well enough, Miss Scrooge, and I know you're not here just to shoot the breeze. Have a seat, and we can talk business. Well, fair enough. We should go ahead and sit. You lower yourself onto a stool-sized rock draped with a fox fur. Let's examine Yellowin. Yellowin is wearing more makeup now than she did in 877, and the effect is that she doesn't look at all like she's 12 years older. Even so, a few streaks of gray have found their way into her hair. Magic can take a lot out of you. So, we last saw her in 877. It is currently 889, 12 years later. Right, okay, good. Let's talk to Yellowin. Before you can start talking business, Yellowin asks, Did Geist give you any trouble? He wasn't exactly helpful, says Riemann. Ah, sorry about that. I need to acquire a certain potion that very few are capable of brewing, you explain. Yellowin leans back. If I'm guessing correctly, she squints at you. I am guessing correctly. Brewing the certain potion would require a certain leaf, which I do not have. I'm working on it, you tell her. The other thing is, I'm afraid I can't do this sort of thing for free. That's taken care of. You toss her the oilskin sack. She catches it and peeks inside. Gorgeous! Oh, Ebenezabeth, you naughty little thing! And she hides the bag in her pile of furs. Curious. Okay. In that case, with the mystery of the sack resolved without ever really knowing what it was that she was looking for, let's look around. She has her bearskin potions, witchcraft equipment, glowing crystal. Let's check some of these things out. Many of Yellowin's furs have been stained strange colors by strange liquids. The potions. Presumably some of these potions are ready for consumption, and some others are works in progress. Let's look at the crystal. Staring into the pink rock helps you relax a little. The equipment. Yellowin's books, her reagents, and her talismans are scattered all over the workshop. Talk to her once more before we wake. Yellowin smiles at you. Have you found that leaf yet? I'm working on it, you tell her. So, I guess we better go ahead and wake up. Close your eyes and let yourself return to London, 1848. We should examine the fourth candle. She looked into the fire of the fourth candle, and the flame took her to Avil 9, 2546. Parking lot. Corpse gray clouds fill the sky. Garbage rattles across the pavement. The lights are out in the hardware store to the northwest, but the doors are wide open. Cumberland Street goes on to the northeast. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I was not sure that I'd gone much farther. I have visited all four areas, and if I'm remembering right, there is a sort of crisis here related to the killing of the prepotents and Linus's situation, and I want to say zombie-like swarms of people, but I might be wrong. Let's see if my recollection is accurate. Let's examine the clouds. The sky is churning like it's brewing a storm, but it's looked that way for a while. Let's go ahead and get into that store. Hardware store. The shop hasn't exactly been looted. Some displays have been emptied. Others are smashed or simply knocked over. Their merchandise abandoned on the floor. You can hear activity in the darkness at the back of the store. A pair of high-quality bolt cutters catches your eye. We take the pair of cutters. We examine them. An expensive pair of hardened steel, femto-sharpened bolt cutters. You somehow feel guilty about taking it. I would probably have written taken them, but that's fine. Listen. You hear something being dragged over the cement floor. You hear a guttural chuckle. You hear a whimper that makes your neck twinge. Can we shout? That almost never helps. Can we examine the activity? No, we cannot. The darkness? People are moving back there. You don't want them to know you're here. Yeah, okay, yeah, trouble. We want to go out to the parking lot. Let us go to the northeast. Well, let's check out the garbage before we do. Some trash can must have been knocked over. Northeast, Waldo's. People are crowded around the restaurant, pushing on the windows and doors. You can see people inside the building, too, struggling to get out. We're okay as long as they don't see us, you whisper. Freeman huddles close to you. What are they trying to do? But you don't have an answer. Cumberland Street goes northeast and southwest. Edwinder Avenue leads northwest. Let's stay on Cumberland for now and go northeast to Business District. People are shambling up and down the street, gawking or snarling or leering at each other. A fight breaks out, biting and screaming, and a few seconds later the combatants stumble silently away. There's too many of them, you tell Freeman. We have to find another way. So you turn back. So we're back at Waldo's. Let's go northwest now to Public Park. A field of yellowing grass. You have to stay behind the trees to keep from being seen. The people here are swarming around a statue of a giant brain. They seem to be trying to knock it over, but they can't coordinate enough to all push from the same side. Darling Street leads northeast. Edwinder Avenue leads southeast. We go to Darling Street to the northeast. After we examine the trees, you scan the park for a safe way through and for any roaming zombies. And the brain. The statue is life-sized, about 15 feet across. What the heck kind of monument is that? Asks Freeman. That's the prepotence, you tell him. It was a giant brain. These people don't seem very fond of it. It controlled everything and everybody on Avil 9. It was horrible, but you can see how much good it did to murder it. Freeman doesn't have anything to say to that. Well, let's go northeast now to Administration Building 0001. The administration building stands at the corner of Darling Street and Sencotts Avenue. The entrance is surrounded by roadblocks and barbed wire, but nobody, except perhaps for you, seems to be trying to get in. An armed sentry stands behind the final barricade. We examine the sentry. A man in a yellow helmet, carrying a yellow machine gun. We'll talk to him in a moment. First, let's examine the building. The building is a gigantic concrete cube, maybe 30 stories tall. Each side of the building bears the number 0001 in 10-foot brass digits. Roadblocks. It's easy enough to walk past the barriers if you're careful about it. And the barbed wire. Yeah, okay, same. Let's talk to Sentry. The sentry waves you over and says in a low voice, "Ebenezer Scrooge, how is your mission going?" "It could be going better," you tell him, "but I'm making progress." He nods. "Good luck," he says. "I hate to turn you away. I don't think I should send you in until you have something to show the President King." I quite agree. I think I have gotten in successfully, so I know I've gotten past this point. Let's see. I think the bolt cutters are going to be most important. Let's try showing the sentry some things. We show the cutters to the sentry. He shakes his head. "Too unwieldy for combat," he says. We show him the notebook. The sentry can't spare the time to read while he's guarding the building against a horde of zombies. We show the revolver. "Nice piece," says the sentry. "A lot cooler than this stupid yellow thing." Okay. So now that we have the cutters, I think we can get into the basement of the cabin from the first candle. So which takes us back to Oregon. We need to go back to the southwest, to behind the cabin, the cellar door. We cut the lock with the cutters. Okay, we don't cut the lock with the cutters, we just cut the door. You position the jaws carefully, and then you pull the handles together. The chain comes apart with much less resistance than you expected. Those blades must be so sharp. The broken chain falls out of the way, and the door is unlocked. We open the door. You pull the doors apart. The cellar below is a black pit, barely touched by the fading sunlight. We go down. Cellar. You can hardly see anything, but most of the space down here seems to be taken up by shelves. We examine the shelves. Rough wooden shelves line all the walls, leaving very little room to stand. On the shelves are a shovel and an unidentifiable withered thing. We take the shovel. We examine it. A very sturdy, very heavy shovel. We examine the withered thing. A thin, irregular object lies across one shelf. "What on earth is that?" asks Freeman. "No idea." We try to take the thing. "Don't touch it!" Freeman shrieks. So you put your hand down. Okay. Can we search the shelves? It still shows the same result. Let's go out. I'm trying to remember if there's someplace we need to use the shovel, and the only thing I can think of is for the sarcophagus. I wasn't sure if there was somewhere we'd need to actually dig, though, but I don't think so. Let's go ahead and wave shovel. You wave the shovel. Okay, now let's wake up. Examine second candle. Back to the necropolis. We go back down to the catacomb, south to the crossway. "We must be lost," Freeman insists. "We're just taking our time exploring," you explain. And south again. It's just a grid, Freeman. If you've ever played tic-tac-toe, this should be trivial. although I suppose opportunities for a crow to play tic-tac-toe may be few and far between. Here is the sepulcher again. Open lid. Open lid with shovel. Doesn't seem to be something you can unlock. Hit lid with shovel. You lift the shovel. Riemann retreats to a safe distance. It only takes one swing to smash the lid of the sarcophagus to pieces. If we examine it now, the skeleton inside is perfectly intact. Her bones are white as snow. Her skull rests on top of a gilt-edged Bible. If we examine the Bible, the cover is some leather-like substance. The pages are lined with silvery metal. It is closed. Can we take the Bible? You carefully remove the Bible from under the skull. If we open the Bible, revealing a green leaf. A tiny leaf shimmering with its own radiance. Riemann whistles. Nice work, he says. If we try to read the Bible, nope. Take leaf. Okay, yeah, can't actually read the Bible. Presumably we have plenty of opportunities at home. We close the Bible. Let's wake up. Back to the third candle. To Wessex. Let's show Yellowin some of our stuff. We're going to show revolver to Yellowin. You show the revolver to Yellowin. I remember this, she says, but what's this golden rose? That's from when the Pope blessed it, you explain. How nice of him. Show notebook to Yellowin. You pass the notebook to Yellowin. She pages through it with great interest, but betrays no emotional reaction, no approval or disapproval. When she hands the book back to you, her only question is, "What's a bicycle?" Show cutters to Yellowin. You hold up bolt cutters. Yellowin is intimidated. What a nasty invention. Show the shovel. Do you need a big shovel? Yellowin shakes her head. We show her the Bible. I already have one of those, Yellowin says. Then she glances suspiciously around the cave. I think. We show the leaf. Yellowin smiles at you. Have you found that leaf yet? Here it is, you say, to her visible delight, and you carefully place the leaf in her open hand. She claps her hands loudly. Then everything is in order. Let's get started. While Yellowin works, you and Freeman try to relax. Are you feeling any better? He asks. A little, you tell him. But then you realize, no, I'm still really upset. You can be upset. I just don't want you to be miserable indefinitely. What's wrong exactly? Yellowin asks from across the cave. Linus killed the prepotence, Freeman explains. Yellowin nods and returns to her work. Freeman turns to you. And the next time I see him, I'm going to make him regret it, he says in a low voice. You stroke his head a little. If we're lucky, we just won't run into him again. Presently, the elixir is finished. That didn't take as long as I thought it would. Nothing ever does. Here you are, little girl. Yellowin hands you a yellow glass bottle. The fluid inside glitters like liquid gold. Thank you, Yellowin. This is going to help a lot of people. Well, don't tell anybody where you got it. The last thing I want is a good reputation. If we examine it, a liquid almost like milk mixed with honey. The glass bottle is much nicer than anything else you see in Yellowin's workshop. Well, we talked to her one last time. As long as you're here, there's something I want to give you. Yellowin rummages through her wares. No charge, because we're such good friends. She presses it into your hand, a tiny clay pot. What kind of potion is it? Not a potion. Makeup. You wear it on your eyes. She points to her own face. Very striking eyes. Ah, thank you. We examine the pot. You hold a very small jar. Inside is a dark, crumbly powder. Can we wear the powder? You will try it on later. Can we thank Yellowin? We'll bid her farewell. Thanks again, you say. Anytime. And we wake up. Now it is time to examine the fourth candle. Back to Avel 9. Show Elixir to Sentry. The Sentry waves you over and says in a low voice, Ebenezabeth Scrooge, how is your mission going? I've obtained the elixir, you say, and you show him the bottle. Fantastic. Please, go right in. I'll make sure you're not followed. We go in. You enter the administration building and find your way to the President King's headquarters. Office. President King Banuel Erwig sits behind a massive desk, rubbing his forehead with both hands. Professor Zvi is pacing up and down the carpet. When you enter, they both look up desperately. Scrooge! Erwig wails. Did you find it? We talk to him. You place the bottle on the desk. Erwig emits a series of pitiful gasps. Will it be enough? He stutters at last. There's enough there for the whole planet if you dilute it enough, you explain. My team is already working on the distribution, says the professor. We can start treating people in the city immediately. The words seem to melt Erwig in his chair. Ebenezabeth, he says, we can't thank you enough. When the prepotence was destroyed, I thought we were saved. I had no idea of the dependency the people had developed. And then Zvi told me there was a cure, but only from an extinct plant. And when she told me where the plant came from in the first place... You cut off his babbling. I'm happy I could help your presidency, but if Linus had listened to me, none of this would have been necessary. He waves the idea away. As far as I'm concerned, that's between you and your associate. I have no interest in assigning blame. At this moment, my only priority is the safety of my constituents. Once that's taken care of, my sole priority will be finding a way to thank you for your assistance. I could give you a few ideas, says Freeman. Erwig and Zvi stare at Freeman blankly. I should be glowing, you say. So, Harleen Zvi is a legendary professor of botany. The leaf was her idea. Right now, she's an absolute mess. And Erwig? His presidency looks like he hasn't slept in 3 days. Well, you've got him beat. We try to talk to her. Professor Zvi is trying very hard not to embrace you. We can't thank you enough, Ebenezabeth, but you need to go home and get some sleep. Dr. Erwig, is there anything else I can do, your presidency? No, we've got it under control. Get some rest, Ebenezabeth. We didn't really look around here. We just kind of charged in, but I guess there's not much going on here other than the two people. Let's go ahead and wake up. You close your eyes and let yourself return to London, 1848. Attic. Ebenezabeth and Freeman were alone in the attic, surrounded by crates and dust. Before them stood the tarnished candelabrum with its 4 burning candles. I hope everything turns out all right for those guys, said Freeman. I wish I could go check up on them. Might be better not to know, said Ebenezabeth. She sighed, and then she muttered to herself. Presque tous les hommes meurent de leur remède et non pas de leurs maladies? I don't speak French at all, so that was awful. What? Sorry. Most men die from their remedies, not from their diseases. For some questions, the answer doesn't. And she sighed again. Who said that? Asked Freeman. Does she answer him? Oh, he's asking for the actual answer. Well, I am going to actually search this. Moliere. I don't know that it'll accept the special characters, so... Moliere. Ah, Freeman nods. Thank you. And that's the end of it. But not quite the end, as we see from the ellipses and brackets. And yet, Freeman continued, you wouldn't say it was better not to know that, would you? To know what? That it was Moliere who said that French thing. I assume knowing that is better than not knowing. You haven't condemned me to anything by spoiling my ignorance, right? Ebenezer chuckled, and Freeman felt rather pleased with himself, knowing he had cheered up his friend a little, though he didn't say so out loud. Would you like to restart, restore a saved game, quit, or undo the last command? We are not going to do any of those. We are going to call this it for the day. Thank you for joining me on this short little journey. But we have a much bigger game in our near future. We will be playing through The Little Match Girl 4, Crown of Pearls. Before we play this, actually, I think we might try one of Ryan's... he had a short little game about... for one of the Enigmarch competitions that pursues the events of a vampire, which I have never finished. I think I must have actually played through this game in its entirety and just forgotten, because the ending does actually seem familiar to me now. I have not played through the game that we will be playing next week, and after that, then we'll get to Little Match Girl 4, which might be just one game session. We'll see. But that is something to explore next time. So thank you for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your day.